Hello again team, it's Jess or JashiiCorrin and welcome back for another video. Today we're looking at spreads related to moving. So no, not moving your body like exercise or something. Ew, do you even know me? Today we're looking at spreads related to moving house. Some of these I've set up in my own journal for the move that my partner Vogel and I are going to be doing later in August. And some of these I won't be using personally, but they still might be good or suitable ideas for you. Starting with the layouts I put in my own journal though, the first thing I had was kind of an intro page, which is more of a memory keeping page than anything else. This essentially summarizes all the places that I've lived in while I've been in Wellington. I've covered up my current address and the one for the place that I'm going to be moving to. You guys don't really need to know that information, but this one at the top was the place that we lived in before the one we're currently living in. You can see that for all the pages I have in this moving setup, I've used these rainbow colours. The ones in here were done with watercolour pencils because while I was in Melbourne, I didn't have access to my Tombos. So my mum lent me a watercolour pencil set and it was actually really fun getting to use those to make this watercolour effect. I would certainly recommend them. Those and any other equipment I used in setting up the pages we have for this video can be found in the description box below. On the other side here, I've put in a space for moving advice. This could be tips that you've collected from your own experience or from research, or tips that friends, family, and other people have given you. Realistically, only list advice that you trust or seems like it's relevant to you. The ones on this page are from a list that comes with the moving binder pages from Move Mama Move on Etsy, which is also linked below. Our next idea was a moving checklist, which could also kind of be considered to be a moving timeline. I've got mine broken down into weeks, so 5 weeks before our move, 4 weeks before our move, 3, etc. Mine stops at moving day, but you could also extend this beyond that to include other house projects, unpacking, etc. You can also see that I have mine as a checklist, but you could also arrange this information into a calendar style layout or as a proper timeline. It really just depends on what you would find the easiest to use and interpret. So for me, that's a checklist. Over the page, we have my decluttering prompt list, and I've broken this down by space rather than by category. This is just going to be a quick declutter, it's not going to be a full KonMari style declutter / tidy up. And at the bottom here, I also gave myself space to write down any of the items I do declutter. Each of these comes with a little checkbox, so once I do get rid of that item, whether that be selling it, or donating it, or just throwing it away, I can check it off here as well. On the other side of this spread, I have a list of all of the materials I need for moving. So packing materials, moving materials, and cleaning materials. A lot of these we do actually already have, but I probably need to go downstairs and check what Vogel has purchased. After this, I've got a spread related to packing up my things. So this includes a space for a color key. I'm going to be color coding all of my boxes, and I'm also going to be numbering them. So here you can see I've listed out the color, the room, the number of boxes found for that space, and then the list of the numbers for those boxes. Under this, I have a packing checklist, which is listed out by room, and it has a column to check off once I've completed that room, once it's been organized, once it's been packed, and once it's been moved. On the other side here, it is looking a little bit empty at the moment, but this is where I'm going to briefly note down what is in each of my boxes. So in particular, listing items of importance, just so that I know which box they're in if I need to find them in a hurry. I'm also going to be packing an essentials box or an unpack first box that Vogel and I will be transporting ourselves, which will have things that we'll certainly need on our first night, but this is really for everything else. So here I'll list out the box number and then a brief description of what's in the box. Flipping over, I have a list of places to change my address with. For each of these, I have a column for filling out the paperwork or filling out the online form, and then another column for checking that that's been applied. Once I'm certain it's done, then I can tick it off in that first column. You can see that I do still have a bit of room on this page because although there is a lot here to change my address with, I am sure that there are other things that I've missed. Up next, we have a list of things that we want to buy for the new house. This could be things that I'm replacing from my declutter or things that I might need in the new house that I didn't need before. For instance, a lawnmower because our new place has a lawn, our current place does not. You could also consider breaking this list down into need now, need soon, and need eventually, which in theory I was going to do, but I didn't end up doing. But for this one, I've got a column to say that I've researched available options, a column to say when I've picked which item I want, a column for actually having purchased the item, and a column for that item having been delivered. Then, once it's all finished, I can tick it off on the left. Under this, rather than having it on a separate page by itself, because I didn't really think this list was going to be all that long, I've got a space to record things that need to be done on our current place and for our new place. So this could include things like maintenance tasks, things to clean or fix, etc. On the right here, I've put a list of the things that I want in that essentials box that I mentioned before. So things that I know I'm going to want either the evening of our move or the morning after before we start properly unpacking. As I said, this box is going to come in the car with Vogel and I, so we know where it is. I have a space at the bottom here, which I'm not too sure how I'm going to fill yet, but that actually brings us to the end of the layouts that I'm using in my journal. As I mentioned, I do have some other ideas though, and although I'm not using them, they may be helpful for you. So jumping into my R&D journal for that, our first idea is a space to write down questions for the real estate agent or landlord. Even after you've bought or closed on a place, you may still have questions. Having a place to drop all these questions can just help you keep better track of them. You may also consider having a space to write down the answers to those questions. Or if they're yes/no questions, you could use a checkbox instead. On the bottom here, we have a place to write down things to pack last. So a checklist of things that you know you'll be packing the night before and the morning of. You're going to have a lot on your mind at those points, so pre-preparing a list like this will make sure that you actually pack all of those things. You don't miss anything. There's actually a pretty high likelihood that I'm going to make a list like this the day before my move. The next idea is a moving related budget. This could include things like remove lists, packing materials, any bonds that you need to pay, or money set aside for any work that you need to do on your new place. On this page, we also have a where is section. So this is a variation of the box inventory list. This one instead focuses on the item rather than the box number though. What you'd do would be list out any important items that you want to keep track of, and then write out which box number those are found in, just so that if you need to find them in a hurry, you know exactly where they are. Flipping over, and what realistically could have been done over a few spreads, we have an inventory list. This one is a more in-depth look at all of the stuff you have, rather than just thinking about what things are in what boxes. Vogel and I keep our inventory list digitally, it's just a little bit easier for us to use it that way. But you could also use a list like this as a checklist on moving day, just to make sure that everything made its way to your new place. It's also helpful to have for insurance purposes. So along with listing all the items, you might also want to list the cost of those items, just in case you need to replace them. On this example, I've sectioned things out by type of item, but you could also have it done by location in your house or some other way. On the other side, another idea we have is a space to list out places to check out in your new area. So that could be new services to find, like doctors, supermarkets, schools and such. But it could also include fun things like eateries and entertainment areas, recreation places, that kind of stuff. For our move, we're going to a place that we already know quite well. It's just under 15 kilometers away from our current house, so we didn't really need a list like this in my journal. But you could be moving a lot further away. The one that I've drawn up here is just a list of places, but if you needed to do a little bit more research into some of them, it might be better to have a bit more space. At the bottom here, we have a space to list out any documentation you need to collect for your move. So depending on where you're moving to, you might need to make sure that you've got copies of your medical records, birth certificates, marriage certificates, school records or documentation like that. Again, we're not moving that far away, so this isn't really something that I needed. Onto something a bit more fun, you could also include planning pages for your new spaces. This could be things like floor plans, some kind of a vision board, any notes that you want to take about your new spaces, like are you going for a certain vibe or aesthetic. You could do some color palette swatching, and also list out any of the things you need to do or things that you need to get. Depending on how much detail you want to include, this could be a spread per room, or more space, or less. Similar to the last idea, it may also be good to have some planning pages for what is going where. So for instance, what's going in each of your kitchen cupboards? What do you want on each shelf of your hall cupboard? Which pieces of furniture need to be put in each room? Planning this in advance means that you can make copies of this page and give it to people who are helping you move. This means that they can unpack the boxes without having to constantly pester you as to where you want things to go. The idea under this is a contacts list. In coordinating a house move, there could be a fair few people that you might need to keep in touch with. So having a go-to place for the contact details for people like the removalists, the estate agent or landlord, companies you need to talk to. It might also be good to have the contact details for people like your electrician, your plumber, and your builder on hand, just in case you need them. Turning on over though, our next idea is to have a moving day plan of attack or timeline. So what time are the removalists coming? Or are you having friends and family help you move? Who's going to be taking what? Do you have to be in or out of places at particular times? If you've hired a van, when are you picking it up? What time does it need to be back? It could be good to have a timeline for your moving day, in particular if you have a lot of moving parts to coordinate. On the bottom here though, and again something a bit more fun, it might be nice to have a moving milestones page. This one is more for memory keeping, but could include things like the date and time your offer was accepted, the date that you booked the removalists, when did you get the last box packed or the last box unpacked, anything that you deem as a milestone which might be nice to record to look back on. On that memory keeping train of thought, you could also just have a memory keeping page for your old house or your old town, or the moving day, or the move in general. The way that I'm mainly memory keeping mine is through vlogs, so I didn't really feel the need to do this in my journal as well, but doing some scrapbook style pages could be a bit fun. In moving to a new place, it's also common to want to celebrate this with your friends and family, so here I have a place to plan a housewarming party. This could include things like general party details like when, where, who you're inviting, have they RSVP'd, what kind of supplies do you need, thinking about any entertainment that you might want to organise, that kind of stuff. As I said though, not all of these ideas are going to work for everyone, so take what you like, tweak or change the ones that don't quite fit, and scrap the ones that you don't need at all. Question of the day for you though, what is your biggest piece of advice for someone who is about to move? Mine would be to give yourself more time than you think you need wherever possible. My move is less than 3 weeks away, and given unforeseen circumstances, I haven't packed a damn thing. When you're moving, the rest of life keeps happening, so I know that my next few weeks are going to be busy as heck. Hopefully you found these spread ideas useful though, and if you did, please do make sure to give this video a big thumbs up. If there are any other moving related spreads or layouts that you can think of, drop those in the comments so our house movers can find even more ideas. Thank you for watching team, and be sure to subscribe to my channel for more on planning, productivity and personal development. Until next time, bye!